the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. We are going to focus this evening on chapter 18. And I had asked you to consider some questions and issues, if you remember. And we will do that now. On chapter 18, we talked about the first part of that under the trial of Jesus, which begins on verse 28, and we got down to the question of what is truth, if you remember that. Does everyone remember that? No. Okay, well, we did. And whether you remember it or not is irrelevant, really. What is truth? And that is the culmination of that initial dialogue between Pilate and Jesus. What is truth? What is truth? Now, for Pilate, the question of truth comes down to two basic principles, both of which are very much with us today. Truth is power. And why would I say that truth is power? How can you draw that conclusion from the trial that's there, from the text? From the text.
Because he controls what's going to happen.
What?
Pilate controls what's going to happen.
How do you know that?
Because he has the power to be able to declare what he wants to do.
How do you know that? Well, sure you do. What does he say in chapter 19? I mean, the trial continues, right? How do you know that? Where in the text? Where in the text in 19, please? See, we have an aversion to text for some reason. It's like it's anthrax. What does he say in the text, please? The text. In 19. I have the power to release you, and I have the power. He's playing the power card. He says it there as plain as the nose on your face. That's right. I have the power. I have the power. So truth to him is power. That's what it is. And how would Pilate exercise this power? In terms of what? How does he evidence that power? What does he say? No. What does he say? What does he say there? I have the power to what? Release you. Release. Go ahead. Or execute. In other words, this branches out into what? The question of freedom and what? Pardon me? Freedom and life. Or death. Now, that's pretty godlike. You know, to have the power over life and death is reserved to God. If we go back to the Garden of Eden, what are the trees there? The tree of life. The tree of life is that one, and the tree of The knowledge of what? Good and evil. Good and evil. See? So there's the tree of life and the tree. This is the tree of life. Okay? Since trees seem to be a big thing around here now. So we have the tree of life. Okay? And freedom involves what faculty of the human person? What faculty engages freedom? Free will. Very good. Yes, yes. Speak up, Roy. Don't be intimidated by these women. Yes, yes, that's right. It's the will. Yes, it's the will. The will is the faculty of choice. Will exercises that. See? And the other tree is what? What is the other tree? Of knowledge. What are the two faculties of the human being that distinguishes us? Reason and what, obviously, please? Will, yes, freedom. You gotta be able to, come on. Free, yeah, I mean, these are the two faculties, right? I mean, you know, dogs don't have it, contrary to what some people believe. Although I question that at times, compared to, well, anyway, we won't go into that. So we have this. We have this element. And you see this goes along the trajectory, don't you? You see this, right? You see? So ultimately, I have the power over life and death, back to Eden, in terms of, why would I say power also means relative? What does it mean to say something is relative? That's right. Comparison, yes. In other words, it doesn't admit of what? What's the opposite of relative? Absolute. It's the absence of absolutes. Today, no one admits of absolutes. No one. When I was teaching a law class at Pepperdine, I asked these very bright, wonderful, well-connected minds sitting there, okay, with their Lamborghinis and everything else parked outside. And could you name me one thing that absolutely you would not do? One thing that you would not do. Well, I waited and waited and waited and waited and waited. The crickets had died while I was waiting. And so one young lady in the back of the class hoisted her hand, not in surrender, but evidently it had come to her. She said, the one absolute is that I would never hurt an animal. Now you gotta let that roll around your head a while. Now we're not talking about somebody who's with a sign standing out on the highway, will work for food. These are supposed to be the best and the brightest and all this kind of stuff. Graduate of some of the top universities and all this kind of stuff sitting there. And that was the one absolute. That was the one absolute. And I said, well, would an innocent human life fall under your absolute? Well, it depends. I said, well, wait a minute. I said, I'm confused. I said, you told me the one absolute is you would not hurt an animal. I ask you, does a human being fall under that absolute umbrella? And you tell me it depends. Well, again, I'm not asking you for people who have urinary problems. I'm asking you about when you say it depends, you've already removed it from the absolute and placed it under the relative. And she says, well, absolutely, I would not hurt an animal. I said, okay. I said, that's fine. I said, it's a good thing. Very good, very good. I said, now, do you believe in absolutes, moral absolutes? And she said, well, I just wanted to say something. She said, no, I don't believe in absolutes. I don't think anything is absolute. I said, so let me understand this. You're telling me that there's absolutely nothing absolute. She said, yes. I said, so your absolute is that there's no absolute. So you're absolutely sure of that. So in telling me that there's nothing absolutely absolute, you have made that an absolute, haven't you? Well, I said, no, is not the answer. No. You see, folks, we can't live without absolutes. Can't live without them. So you can't. And so we have today the idea, because truth is relative, it depends. Depends on your perspective. Depends on your viewpoint. It's called perspectivism. It depends on your experience. It depends on what you think. It just depends. And after all, I can't tell you anything that I haven't experienced. I don't want to impose my values on you. And everything is basically the ball being thrown at the beginning of the basketball game for the tip-off. Depends on who gets it. And you also may have other tossing of the balls depending upon the game and how it's the tie ball, or they're not sure whose ball it is, so they'll toss it up. So that's life. It just depends. Just depends. So if that's true, that truth is relative, and it just depends, and there are no moral absolutes, we have entered the age of what Pope Benedict famously referred to and spoke his whole entire pontificate about, the tyranny of relativism. The tyranny of relativism. And we even have people in science. Is science relative? Well, the answer for many people is yes. For example, the principle of Heisenberg's principle of uncertainty. The principle of uncertainty says that I don't care what the experiment is, I don't care what you're doing, it doesn't matter how objective you think it is, it's not. Because by the very fact that you are doing the experiment has an effect on its outcome. The very fact that you, who are different than this lady here, from this gentleman here, the fact that you may very well have a different outcome however slight, because as soon as you introduce the human element into it, you are relativizing it, and you affect the outcome of it. So to talk about an absolute certainty is not possible, because one time the proton will act like an electron, and the electron might act in a different way, and it is the result of the person, although they perform the same activity, the fact that they're doing it affects the true absolute objectivity of the particular behavior. Now, the principle of uncertainty. Philosophically, this took place with David Hume, who was the last of the classical empiricists, Locke, Berkeley, and Hume. And David Hume said, there is no such thing as cause and effect. There's no such thing as cause and effect. You can't prove cause and effect. In other words, you can't get an ought from an is. Because something is, and it repeats, it doesn't mean it's built into the structure of the thing. Show me the principle of causality. Show me the principle. Where is it? If Roy here asked me to show a cap, I can show it to you. His cap. Ask him to show a pen, he can show the pen. Show me the principle of causality. Say, well, the earth rotates and the sun rises. The earth rotates so that the sun appears in the east and sets in the west. And Hume says, what proof is there that that is a law of nature? It's not, he says. It simply happens enough, or is consistent enough, but there's nothing intrinsic that means that the earth might not rotate tomorrow toward the west, and the sun will be present in the west and then appear in the east. He says the mere fact that something is repetitive does not mean that it's built into the structure of the things or the behavior. Now, if that's the case, you're left with a radical skepticism, because then you can't be certain of anything. The only thing you can be certain of is uncertainty, which you really can't live your life that way. Society cannot function that way, and we don't function that way. But he's arguing a philosophical point. He says, what happens is memory and expectation, you have made your memory and your expectation a law of nature. Therefore, because it always appears in the east, it ought to. And he says, no, you can't say it ought to, because auto means should. And if you say ought to or should, you are now crossing into the realm of morality or a moral thing. When you say should and ought, it involves a duty or a moral command. Whether you do it or not is another thing. But when you pass from is to ought, you're going from fact to value, or fact to rule or law. And you're saying there's something intrinsic in that connection, the natural law, the law of God. Could God decide tomorrow that killing babies is all right? Would that be all right? And if you say no, then God is not free. If you say yes, then you say, well, God is violating his own commands. You see, it's a silly question. It's a nonsensical question because it's a question along the line of, can God square a circle? That's a stupid question. It's a trick question. Because by the very nature of a circle and the very nature of a square, they are mutually exclusive to each other. Therefore, the answer is, could God command that we start killing babies? No, because they're mutually exclusive. God is life, and the killing of innocent is that. Hence, you would be asking God to go against himself. And that's what St. Paul says. God is faithful. God is faithful to his word because he does not go back against himself. In other words, it would be a complete obliteration of God, is what it would be. It would be totally and completely squaring the circle. You can't. It's a silly question. But sometimes we get caught in that. So what we have here is the idea of power and relativity. And with this, therefore, might what? Might, what's the saying? There you go. Might makes right. Might makes right. See? When the Pope, Pius, in World War II, told Stalin not to destroy or to come into Rome or any of those kind of things as the war was heating up and they were chasing the Nazis and all this kind of stuff, Stalin infamously or famously, depending upon your perspective, said, how many divisions does the Pope have? That was the answer. How many divisions do you have? You ain't got any, except those Swiss guards who we're not sure. Well, they might be better. Well, I'm not going to get into that. I almost said something very unkind, but I won't. So you see, might makes right. Stalin said it beautifully. What do we talk about today? Balance of power. Remember when everybody had their neutron bombs and all of that? We called it MAD. That's what the policy was called. What did MAD stand for? Mutual assured destruction. Now that is MAD. You obliterate New York, and I obliterate Moscow. And then China jumps in. And then does France and Germany shoot theirs? And then Pakistan comes in. Does that mean India shoots theirs? And pretty soon, civilization as we know it is gone. Mutual assured destruction. So what we have is might makes right, and therefore we have to be strong in order to at least make sure that we are secure and safe, because they know if they do it to us, we will have enough time and resources to retaliate, and will they want to do it? And so what we have is a standoff. We don't have peace. At best, we have a fragile armistice. We still don't have, we're not at peace with North Korea. The peace treaty was never signed with North Korea. It's an armistice. An armistice means the cessation of hostilities. That's what it means. That's what was so historic about President Trump stepping over into North Korea. First time in decades and decades and decades an American president stepped into North Korea. And the first time in a long time, little rocket man representing North Korea stepped into South Korea. If you remember that, at the, was it 38th parallel or whatever it is, in North Korea and South Korea, the demilitarized zone, etc. Okay, so might makes right. And for many, that's exactly what takes place. We don't have to go into these lofty areas of geopolitics and all of this kind of stuff. It's basically the everyday ethic. You see more and more of the sharper elbow. Come here, I'm going to let you have it. We see it. We see it increasing in a kind of Brillo pad coarseness to life today. The way people talk to each other, treat each other. There is a lessening of civility today. We see that. Do we teach children anymore? Please, thank you. Yes, ma'am. No, ma'am. Yes, sir. No, sir. Have a seat. Open the door. And it's filtered into older people. When I was in California, a blessed memory, and I went into this place because I was playing basketball, and I wanted to return the basketball to the people who had lent it. They would lend it out to you, and so on and so forth. Anyway, and there was a young lady behind the counter, and I didn't have a hat playing basketball, but I had a hat on the side because it was about 100 and something. Wonderful temperature. It was. I loved it. Oh God. Anyway, so I walked in, but I took my hat off when I went into the store, into the area there. And the young lady back there, she's probably in her 20s, very nice young lady behind the counter there. And they had this lady. It's hard to tell because you have to try to strip away the layers of Botox. Most of them look like burn victims. But anyway, well, they do. They do after a certain time. I'm sorry. It's one of the great tragedies, huh? What is more attractive than a woman who is 60, 70, or 80, and her face shows a life lived, without all this junk and gunk and everything else, or a man? The men are in it now too. So let's understand, we have gender equality there, stupid all the way around. So we have all this stuff we put on. Anyway, and the lady is standing there, and I gave the ball back, and then she came and kind of stood on. I didn't see her standing here, so I turned and I said, "Oh, excuse me, ma'am." And she said, "Don't call me ma'am." I said, "Oh, I'm sorry. Excuse me, sir." And she said to me, she said, "Oh, where are you from?" I said, "I'm from the South." She said, "Oh, it figures." I said, "Well," I said, "aren't I in Southern California?" And she said, "I don't want to talk to you." I said, "Ma'am, oh, I'm sorry." I said, "I didn't initiate this." I said, "You did." I said, because I didn't see you, I just begged your pardon. And that was it. And then all of this developed. She said to the young girl, she said, "I'll come back when it's less distracting." And so she walked out. So the young lady behind the counter, whom I had given the basketball to, she said, "That's really embarrassing." She said, "Everybody wishes we could get rid of her." That's what she does. She said that's how she is to everyone. See how that is. That's how you're now known. Everybody wishes you were not here. It's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing. But you see it. Now, what is she afraid of, this woman? I know what it is, because what she said. She also said, I'm not that old. Not that old. You probably knew Moses. Uh, you know. Uh, but okay. See, because when people act this way, my question always is, what are you afraid of? It's a fear. It's a fear. An animal that will be very passive and everything, when they're afraid, they, they will attack. If you fool with dogs, or with cats, but dogs, what do the animals attack? They attack the weak one. And what I mean by the weak one is the one that is unstable. Dogs will attack you. If you want to control a pack of dogs, you find the one that is the cause. Go to that, calm that dog down. Forget the others. I don't care what they're doing. Stop, get that one, and the rest of them stop. Because dogs do not like instability. When they're attacking that, they're attacking it because that dog is now unstable. And you find even the most passive dogs now becoming aggressive, now joining in. The little ones, the big ones, it doesn't matter because of instability. And so this person, you can imagine the instability and everything she causes. And most of that is the result of insecurity and fear in a dog. So what do? They attack. They attack. You do things in fear that you would never normally do in your life. When you say, I can't believe I did that, ask yourself, what was I afraid of? What did I fear? And you can get often at the cause of behavior that even shocks yourself. See, this is what fear, and we're going to see fear. We're going to see fear in a moment. We're going to see fear in Pilate. And you say, well, gee, that's crazy. After all, he's got the power to do all that stuff. And when we get into it, you tell me who's afraid. Jesus or Pilate? Jesus or Pilate? Okay. So, we have this might makes right. Power is truth. But we also want to look at what is truth. And we want to look to the Greek word for truth, which is the word used here. The word is aletheia. A-L-I-T-H-E-I-A. A-L-I-T-H-E-I-A. Aletheia. Aletheia means truth. But there's a very interesting meaning. Very interesting meaning when you break the word aletheia down. It means a revelation, an unconcealment, a coming into a clearing, a being made known. That's what it means. So aletheia is an unveiling, an uncovering. It's an exposing of oneself or the thing. Roy here, because he's a good man, good man, and he wants to surprise his blessed wife. Okay, shocker probably. He wants to surprise her. So he brings home a present for her. And it's all wrapped up in everything. Good thing, good thing. And she's all excited and all this kind of stuff. So she opens it up. She says, just what I wanted. It was a moment of aletheia, a moment of truth. It was a revelation of what was in the box But there was something deeper there, wasn't there, than what was in the box. What did it reveal? Exactly. So the uncovering is not simply a covering that's factual or visible. It's a deeper uncovering. It's a deeper revelation. What is truth? Well, what does Jesus say? Back to the text, please. See, you're looking at me. Don't look at me. I realize I'm so fascinating. You know, my God, you got to be kidding. What does the text say? Oh my God, please, what does the text say in chapter 18? Please state to the text. Oh God, I'm losing my mind. Huh? I don't know what you all are averse to the text for. What does the text say? No, don't watch me. I'm watching you. Yes? What is truth? When he said this, says, find no guilt in him, so on and so forth. And what does he say? Go on, keep going. What does he say? Everyone who, where is that? There, yes, right above it, right above it. Therefore, listens to my voice. Listens to my voice. Aletheia means what? A revelation. An uncovering. Very good. Now, I asked you to look at chapter what? In John's Gospel. No. What else? What else? 10. Let's look at 10, please. Just for the, we have a few hours to kill. What is that? Well, wait. Let them catch up, Roy. Roy, we don't want to intimidate anyone. Yes. Well, read it loud so we can all join
To
in.
him the gatekeeper opens, the sheep hear his voice, and he calls his own sheep by name and leads them out. And he's brought out all his own. He goes before them, and the sheep follow him, for they know his voice.
There you are.
The stranger does
No,
not
that's fine. That's fine. No, that's good. That's good. That's good. So we see there Jesus referring to or using the image of what? The shepherd. He's the shepherd, the good shepherd. And he gains the obedience, respect, and love of those under him. How? By calling their name. Why is that important? What is it about name?
You're recognizing them as an individual.
That's right. Recognizes the essence of the person as an individual. They know the essence of the person. It's not simply what you do, how you dress, what your socioeconomic status is, and all that sort of stuff. Again, keep in mind aletheia. What is aletheia? A revelation. Hence, when you call a person by name and they respond, you are also asking to know what? What are you asking when you say to a person, "Sir, what is your name?" What am I asking?
You're inclusive enough.
No, I'm not. No, I'm saying, what is your name? What's that?
Who are you?
But what do you mean by that? His essence? Yes. What do you mean? Well, is it more than is it more than simply Betty Furwell?
Who she is.
I'm telling you who I am.
Yes. Yes. You're getting into the very core of who you are. That's the power of asking someone their name. It's not simply name, rank, and serial number. It's not that. It has to do, I'm asking you to reveal it. And if I call you by name, I am saying, what do I know? If I call you by name, what am I saying that I know? I know who you are. I know what you're about. I know your core. I don't care all the cosmetics you have on you. I don't care all of the stars and stripes. I don't care all the medals, all the trophies. I don't care. I don't care if you're poor, down and out, and laying in the gutter. I don't care. If I call you by name, you are revealing, I'm saying, I know you as a person. Now, how many times do we, quote unquote, misjudge people? Yes. Because we think we what? We think we know them. I know that person. Do you really? It's interesting. One of the things that most people who knew Ronald Reagan say, as close as we were, I never really knew Ronald Reagan. He was a very private man. Nancy did. His children were estranged to him for the longest time, as you know, other than Maureen. We see the veneer. We see the exterior. We see the appearances. But do we really know that person? See, St. Augustine said, I am a mystery unto myself. Hence, when we start judging that we know, we have to be very, very careful about that. Very, very careful. I may know your behavior, but it is possible that your behavior does not reveal the inner core of you. It can be called hypocrisy. The word hypocrite comes from the Greek, meaning wearer of mask, one who wears a mask. And where did that come from? It came from the Greek plays, the Greek tragedies, because women were not allowed to be in the plays. So the female parts were played by men who wore feminine masks. Hence, a hypocrite is one who wears masks. Don't we say, don't trust her, she's two-faced? Don't we say that? Say that all the time. Say that all the time. Well, that's where it comes from. The wearer of the mask, you see? And so, what does Jesus say in the passage just read from John? What does Jesus say?
Truly, truly, I say to you, I am the door of the sheep.
Well, go back to what you've been reading. What does he say?
He calls his
calls his own sheep by name, and he leads them out. They recognize his voice. And what else?
When he goes before them, all follow him.
When they go before him, when he goes before them, they follow him.
But they know his voice.
They know his voice. See? There's something there about the voice. Something there about that voice. You see, they listen. They listen. And why does he go before them? Because he leads them. He's the gate. And what does that contrast with?
Someone who doesn't get that is like a later.
How do you know that?
So, you know,
No. What did? I'm gonna try it again. I'm going to kill myself. I really am. I'm telling you. I'm near suicide right now. So if you want to get rid of me, that's it. That's it.
they will not follow a stranger, they will run away from him because they do not recognize the voice of the stranger.
They do not recognize the voice of the stranger. They run away. They leave him. Why? What is it in the voice of the one they follow?
It's like the voice with someone who feels.
That's right. And Jesus is the what does he say? He's the gate. He's the gate. Hence he is if he's the gate and he's leading them, he's the way, the truth. Do we see now? The truth, the revelation. But how does this come? How does this come about? How do they come to trust him and his voice? How do they come to that? How do we come to that? Your dog. You have a dog.
They associate the voice with someone who can trust. Because when they hear the voice, like Pavlov's dog, they're associated, they're trained to respond like that.
Yes. Now, is there something more than Pavlovian with human beings? Or are you just a Pavlovian dog? I mean, maybe you want to be, I don't know. Or a Skinnerian rat. Well, why?
Well, because some of the miracles and things that he's done,
God's known us before we were born.
Pardon me?
God's known us before we were born. You are named before you were born.
That's very much like Jeremiah, isn't it? You knew me in the womb before I was born. Why would he know you before you were born? What's the big deal there? So what?
he knows all things.
But he created you. Well, he created the plants. He created that nice lady sitting next to you. He created this gentleman here, and so on. What's the big deal? What makes Mr. Sanders different than Jim there? He created him. He created him. He created.
He loves you for who you are.
Loves you for who you are. Okay, we're getting close. Does God mass produce? Does God Xerox people?
We're all different.
We're all different. Is there anything alike about us?
Something.
How about our essence? How about our being? That's pretty heavy, huh? Yeah. That's basic, fundamental. That's, in our differences, we accentuate today the differences and we forget about the commonality. That's the problem. We hear about all this diversity. When's the last time you heard about unity and really meant it? It's all fine and good. You want diversity? That's great. But if everybody's diverse and everybody's different, how do we work for the common good? How do we get anything done? We don't. We don't. It's all wonderful, terrific, sounds great. Pluralism and all this, it's beautiful. What is on the dollar bill? Don't tell me God we trust, please. Spare me that. Really? No, in the dollar bill we trust. E pluribus unum, which means what? Out of the many, the one. E pluribus unum. Out of the many, the one. St. Paul, 12th chapter of 1 Corinthians. We just read it a couple of weeks ago at Mass. I mean, remember that? No? What image does he use? The image of the what? We read it at Mass. I mean, yeah, go ahead. Yeah, but what image? What image does he use? What image does he use? He uses the image of the body, please.
Oh, the arms, the members.
Yes, huh? You remember that? No, yes? I mean, you heard it anyway. I'm saying you listened to it, but you heard it. Anyway. What image does John use? In chapter 15. Yeah, I know it's very difficult to turn the pages, I understand. And you all are frustrated. Imagine me. Okay. Give me a little of that sympathy. The vine and the branches. Read it, please.
I am the true vine, and my Father is the vine grower. He takes away every branch in me that does not bear fruit, and every one that does, he prunes, so that it bears more fruit. You are already pruned because of the word that I spoke to you. Remain in me as I remain in you. Just as a branch cannot bear fruit on its own unless it remains on the vine, so neither can you unless you remain in me.
Now, are John and Paul, or Peter and Nathaniel, Andrew, are they different? Are they different people?
Sure.
What is their oneness?
The love of God.
No. Very good. That's right. The branches.
The vine.
Yes.
Yes. You got it.
Okay.
I am the vine and you
Right. Right. So now, John uses the vine because the vine goes all the way back into the Old Testament. Who is the vine in the Old Testament? Who is the vine that he plants in the land? God doesn't plant himself. I would like to try that myself at this moment. Who does he plant in the land? Yes. Yes, it's the chosen. No, stop. Yeah. Yes, it's the Israelites. The Israelites are the vine that God plants in the land, the promised land. Jesus says in John, he is what? No, read the text. He doesn't say that. He doesn't say that. What does he say at the beginning, Jim? Well, true means a lot. I am the true vine, not that I'm the vine. No, he is the true vine. He means by truth. And truth means what? What does the word truth mean, folks? Yes, he is being unconcealed. He's being revealed as the true vine. Israel was the initial vine, the first one planted. But now the word true is not used there just because he wants to fill up ink space. It's the revelation of the true, authentic vine that Israel was preparing for. You see? So the revelation, the unconcealment, is now. Then who are the new people of God? Who are the new people of God? Looking at the text, reading the text, who are the new people of God? And but more what it say? What does it say? Wonderful. That's exactly right. Those who are engrafted to Jesus. Those who are engrafted to him. Because apart from him, you what? You wither and can do nothing. You can produce nothing. That's the image that he's using. The new chosen people are no longer exclusively the Jews, but it's whom? Whom? Everyone who hears his voice and follows. All of a sudden, all y'all come. This is the universality now. That theme of universality that I've talked to you about many times. The original vine is whom? The chosen people. But now, they're not all of a sudden discarded. See, I keep repeating that because I have to. It is not saying you're obsolete, you're no good, you're false, you're bad, you're no good. None of that stuff. He says true in that it is the revelation of now the vine, the planting of what? The planting of the true vine who is Jesus Christ. And the new people of God are those who? What does the text say? Those who are? Remains in me and I in him. Yes, yes, yes. See, it's a battle of wills now. And I'm an expert at this. And your will not overcome my will. Trust me. It's my will. Yes, I am. I don't believe in relativity. Your relatives are mine. Now, it is. Trust me. So what we have here now is the planting of the true vine, the revelation of the true vine. Does that bring to mind anything way back at the beginning of the fourth gospel? The beginning of the fourth gospel is called what? The what? What is it called? Somebody said it, I think. No. What are the first 18 verses, 19 verses called? No, what is it called? Very good. The prologue. Prologue. What is the central concept in the prologue? The central concept. One little word. Word. How do you know that? Doesn't matter. How do you know it if you don't know any of that other stuff? What separates that from other words in there? It's capitalized. The Word or the Logos is whom? Is Jesus. Now, read, start with maybe around 10, 11, and read that, please. Yeah, of the first chapter.
He was in the world, and the world came to be through him.
He was in the world. He was in the world. He was in the world.
The world came to be through him, but the world did not know him. He came to what was his own, but his own people did not accept him. But to those who did accept him, he gave power to become children of God, to those who believe in his name. Who were born not by natural generation, nor by human choice, nor by man's decision, but God.
Born of God. See, Jesus was planted. The Word is planted. The Word, the Logos, is planted. Planted where? Verse 14.
And the word became flesh and made his dwelling among us.
He made his dwelling among us. The Word is planted. The vine is planted. The true vine is planted. And what is the soil? It says it right there. Read 14, please. No, read.
The Word became flesh and made his dwelling among us.
So who is the soil? Yes, we are the soil. It can't grow without soil. Yeah, among us. And therefore now, in John chapter 15, the true vine is now Jesus, having fulfilled the vine of the Old Testament, and that those, what happens then? How do they know him? How do they know? How in 15, how do they come to know him? What do they have to do? No. What does the verse say? Right there in 15. No. Just what does he say in the image? How?
Remain in me, God remain in you. Just as a branch cannot bear fruit on its own unless it remains in the vine, so neither can you unless you remain in me.
Exactly. It is the planting of the vine among us, within us. And therefore everyone who is open to the Word and is planted in Jesus, they have the power to what? What does it say? What does it say in the text? No, in the prologue, please.
Oh.
Yes, in the prologue. What does it say?
Dwelled among us.
To those who believe what? It says it there. Go ahead. Read a little bit before then, Ron. Right. But keep going. But, there's a but in there, huh? You know, all God's children got butts. Come on, it's a but. There you are. See, the text is a wonderful thing. All right. So that's the idea of the truth. It is not. Might makes right. It's not relative. It's not maybe Jesus, maybe somebody else, maybe Buddha, Confucius, Mugu Gai Pan, I don't know. It's not this, it could be, yeah, it could be. Maybe so. Some people worship the moon. They howl at the moon. I don't know. Maybe you do. I don't know. Power. See? The power to release or the power to execute. It's the love of power. With Jesus, it's the power of love. You have to decide which one you want. You want to love power? Go for it. It's the power of love. Why does the power of love ultimately win? I said ultimately. Why? I mean, power looks pretty effective to me. I don't know about you. It looks pretty effective to me.
Power leads to corruption.
Corruption. Mm-hmm. What do you mean by that, boy?
Too much power going to your head and you think you're God.
Power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely? I see. So if we don't have any power, we're better off. We're not corrupt if we don't have power. Do you have power, Maria? Do you have power?
I think I do.
Sure you do. Sure you do. I hope you do. You have a lot of power. Exactly. You get up in the morning, you take care of yourself, you do what your duties are, and so on and so forth. You're not an invalid. You're not a paraplegic, thank God. You're none of those things. We all need power to some extent. We do. We need power to some extent. Well, what's the knock on power? Too much power. Can you get too much of a good thing?
Sure.
Really?
I love salt, but too much salt will kill me, my doctor says.
But it's not a good thing. Just because you love it doesn't mean it's a good thing. Right? No? I understand that, but he said, what I'm saying to you is it a good thing? Then for Roy. Mm-hmm. What about sugar? Processed sugar? Same thing. Don't get any sugar, and when you get your headache, don't come to me. Yeah. Nothing wrong with it if you want to do exercise and stuff. Remember we were told don't have cholesterol, and now we're told there's good cholesterol and bad cholesterol. Okay. There's good fats and bad fats. There's good twigs that you can chew on and bad twigs that you can chew on. Go and get your cornflakes or go cut your leaves by your house or whatever you want. Eat that, etc. Yeah. It's always the question of excess and moderation and so on. Why does love endure? What does St. Paul say? Chapter 13 of Corinthians. What does he say? You all run to weddings, I'm sure, and every body who wants to get married uses the same reading, which is completely wrong, has absolutely nothing to do with weddings or anything else like this. But it sounds so wonderful. Oh, God. Oh, Lord. What is it? 113? Come on. Come on, folks. We're talking about the enduring... No. At the end, please. Come on. Please. There you are. That's what he says. Yeah. You all sit there for these weddings and carry on making goo-goo eyes and everything else. There you are. Okay. Why does love endure? Hmm? Why? Why? Hmm. Never fails. Why? Why doesn't it fail? Always truthful. Hmm. You ever love someone and they haven't loved you back? Yeah. Sorry, Lucy. Uh, no. But at this point, I'm ready to go to confession. See, the great thing about this is I go in the mirror, and I am so understanding of myself. You have no idea. I'm like, I mean, I'm a Jesuit on steroids. I understand everything. Yeah, you know. Um, uh, you ever tell somebody too much truth? Hmm? Yeah, yeah. Hmm. Hmm. You can tell people too much truth if you mean truth, factual. You look like a nice lady. And, well, you do. And let's say for the moment you're Jewish. And let's say for the moment it's 1938. And let's say for the moment we're in Poland. And let's say for a moment I'm Hitler. And I've just sent out the SS to round up the Jews. And they come to the house where you're hiding out. And um, uh, commander or whatever comes in and says, is so-and-so you here? And you got her hiding in the basement. And you say, well, I can't lie. Yeah, she's right here. Come on, there she is. Bye. It's so good. I told the truth. Now, you probably don't think that was such a good move. Well, you can practice what the Jesuits said. You practice what's called mental reservation. Are you here? No. I mean here as in this room. Mental reservation. I am reserving, narrowing the concept of here to mean in this room. No. Is that true? Yes, it is true. It is true. That's why when you take an oath in a courtroom, it says the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. And you will practice no mental reservation. Some jurisdictions have that because you can play that game. Okay? And we do those kind of things. Most obvious answer is, I'm not going to answer the question because you don't have a right to the answer. And if you don't have a right to the answer, you don't have a right to the truth. You're in confessional, and you're there, and I'm the next person in line, and I'm standing here, and the priest can't hear very well, and so you have to talk loud. And I'm standing there, and I hear everything. And you walk out, I am bound under the seal of confession. And if I would reveal that, I would be excommunicated on the spot. I don't need a formal excommunication. I would be excommunicated for breaking the seal of confession, which is, you want an absolute? That is the absolute. That's the absolute. Can never be revealed. I don't care if they're going to kill you. You cannot reveal that. You cannot reveal what you hear in confession. And priests have gone to the death chamber and other places for that. Now, this lady, who appears to be nice, but really isn't, quiet, but she's not. She operates with guerrilla warfare tactics. And many years she really hasn't liked you. Although she pretends she does. She's a good mask wearer. And she was standing in back of me, but she also is impaired a bit here. And she says, did you hear? Did she really say this? I say, now, I heard you say whatever you said. You took candy from the store. So I heard that. She wants to know that. And so this lady is asking me, did she say that? Or did I hear what she said? And the answer is, you don't have a right to that truth. Period. You don't have a right to the truth. It's a question I can't answer. Because if I say no, or if I say yes, both of those are unacceptable. And therefore, the answer is, you don't have a claim to that truth. When you have something confidential about someone, and they tell you something, and someone says, you could tell me, did she really say? You don't have a right to that. You don't have a right claim to that. If I know that this lady here stole the candy in the store, under justice and charity, it is a grave sin for me to go around and say, you know what, I heard that she steals from the store. Is it true? Did she steal from the store? Yes. Yes, it's true. That's what she did. But who has committed the greatest sin by me going around and saying it? I have. She has taken a candy bar or whatever. I don't care what she's taken. I have given her a severe wound to her character, her good name. A person has a right to their good name. A right to their good name. I don't care what they've done. In effect, we don't have the right to go around and tell about that person. It may be true what they did. It may be true. But we don't engage in that. We don't spread that. We don't go around about that. As just gossip, or just a curiosity, or what do you think? You know, all of that kind of stuff, you see. So, if we look at this, the idea of hearing the voice, being engrafted to Jesus, and all of this sort of stuff, we come back to this chapter 18. Let's go back to chapter 18, please. And right under that, what is truth? We've kind of beaten that horse to death with very little glue or anything else. But anyway, when he had said this, he being Pilate, Pilate again went out to the Jews and said to them, I find no guilt in him. So here again, Pilate pronounces him innocent. Pronounces him innocent. They have asked for this to be transferred or elevated to Pilate. Remember? Why? That's right. But you have a custom. Does anyone find that strange? Pilate says, but you have a custom. He's saying this to the Jews. You see Pilate navigating as so many bureaucrats and administrators do. You see, he's a political functionary, a military hack is what he is. And he's appealing to what? What is he appealing there to? To a custom. And what is he? Is he Jewish? Do you see how low that is? Does that grab you? I mean, right. But what does he do? I mean, he's pulling out all the stops. Yes. Jesus is the proverbial billiard ball or ping pong ball. Everybody's slapping it across the net. He's the hot potato that nobody wants to handle. You have a custom that I release one prisoner to you at Passover. Do you want me to release to you the King of the Jews? Now, can you imagine that? Can you imagine that? How does that show how desperate Pilate is? What is he calling? What is he saying there? What is he saying? He's saying that he's a king. Pilate is what? He's a Roman. But he's not only a Roman, what position? He's the governor. And by admitting that they what? The Jews have what? A king. And is this dawning on you? Is this dawning on you that Pilate is saying, do you want me to release to you the King of the Jews? Anyone who claimed to be a king would face automatic what? Death. But now, what does he say? He wants to release Jesus, who implicitly he's recognizing as a king. I mean, do you see how tortured and how convoluted, hypocritical, and desperate that is? My Lord, come on, you see that. And they cry out, not this one, but Barabbas. And what does it say? Do you see how deep this is getting? He is willing. He is trading who? And Barabbas is a revolutionary. Well, then were the American revolutionaries terrorists? No, I'm talking, well, I'm just saying, you made that statement, besmirching all the poor terrorists, are revolutionaries, one of the two. I'm just picking on you because, anyway. Now, Barabbas was a revolutionary. Pilate took Jesus and had him scourged. Now, how do you like that, civil libertarians? I find him innocent. I find no guilt in the man. Oh, by the way, give him just use his head and his body and everything else as a backboard. You see, what do you see developing here that has been developing now? The presence of what? Presence of Satan. See the presence of it. You see, and it's growing. It's growing. See, this is what happens. Nothing worse than when good people do nothing. When, no matter your power, do you see the weakness of power? What was the Pharisees' big complaint, a big concern, a big issue? with Jesus.
He didn't follow the rules.
Yeah, and why was it important to follow the rules?
Because that's
The law of Moses.
That's where their power.
That's where their power was. He was a threat to their power.
They were going to lose all their power.
Yes. See? So what do? They go to Pilate. Pilate, who has his own little keg of power, recognizes that Jesus is what? He's innocent. He's innocent. But what does he want to do? What does he want to do? He's innocent. He tries to free him. But he's afraid, because he's then going to have a problem with the Jews, the religious establishment, because we're going to go into that at some point in the Catechism, the Jewish question, which is very misunderstood, needs to be corrected, and I want to correct it before we leave tonight, this idea of Jewish blame and Jewish guilt. It's a terrible thing. It's totally and completely rejected, and so on, and should never, it's a great, great sin to use that to say that the Jews are suffering, they got thrown in ovens and all of this for not, because they crucified Christ. Oh, my Lord. This was spread. This was certainly spread in the Middle Ages, and it was spread in the 1930s. Hitler did it in a political way. You had the radio priest, Father Coughlin, who intimated pretty much the same thing on the radio priest who swept the country and then was discredited. He was a definite anti-Semite. But anyway, so this, and notice, they have him scourged. They wove a crown of thorns, placed it on his head, clothed him in purple. And what did they say? You see, I mean, this is the classic example of Johannine irony. Irony is someone who says the truth and doesn't recognize it, or who says more than they really realize they're saying. That's ironic. Oh, that's really ironic coming from you. You know, when you tell someone, I think you should be nicer to your wife. And you say, that's funny coming from you because you were arrested last week for batting your wife around a tennis court. See, here I am telling you this, but it's ironic because I am saying the truth. You should be nicer to your wife. But coming from me, I'm the one who should practice what I preach. You see, so when you're ironic, you're always saying more, or you're saying the truth, but you really don't have a right to say the truth because you yourself are not living it. You yourself are not living it. Okay? So, what does this reference? This little segment right there that we read every single Good Friday, and just about every Friday, certainly first Friday of the year, for the responsorial psalm. What does this bring back memories to you of? What did they do? Read it, please. What did they do? What did they do to him? No. What did they, you just read it in the text. He had him what?
Scourged.
He had him scourged.
They wove a crown of thorns and placed it on his head, clothed him in a purple cloak.
Cloak, okay.
And they came to him
All right.
and said, "Happy to come."
Now, what does that remind you of? On Good Friday? What? No. It's okay. No. What prophecy is being fulfilled? What is the great penitential psalm in Isaiah? What is that? Look at Isaiah 53, please. Look at Isaiah 53. What time is it, Betty? All right, I'm almost done. 8:47 or 40? What do you have, Roy? 8:37. See, even time is relative. So if you want to get out, it's 8:40. If you want to stay, which I can't imagine, it's. I'm surprised Roy didn't say 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, or something like that. Okay, let's look at Isaiah 53, please. Yeah, just humor me a little longer, please. Let's look at it, please. Chapter 53. Who would believe what we have heard? To whom has the arm of the Lord been revealed? He grew up like a sapling before him, like a shoot. Oh, something like a vine, huh? From the parched earth. The parched earth is the symbol of whom? What does it mean to be parched? Dry, thirsty. Yes, and so who would the, and whom? Just the Jewish people? You're the one who told me about universalism. No, you're the one who told me about universalism, anyone who is engrafted. Humanity is parched. Humanity is dry. Jesus is the water, the life-giving waters, as he tells the woman at the well in Samaria, right? Right. Okay. Oh, God. All right. And he had no majestic bearing to catch our eye, no beauty to draw us to him. He's not on Facebook. He was spurned and avoided by men, a man of suffering, knowing pain, like one from whom you turn your face, spurned, and we held him in no esteem. Yet it was our pain that he bore, our suffering he endured. We thought of him as stricken, struck down by God and afflicted. What did they think as Jesus was going through all of this, and especially when he's nailed to the cross? God forsaking him, and what else? The cross was the result of what? What did the cross prove? What did the cross prove to the world? What has Jesus been claiming all along throughout his entire ministry? No. What did Jesus claim throughout his entire ministry? What's that? He was one with the Father. He's the Son of God. Now, what happens? What happens at the crucifixion? But what does? Yes, but from the world's point of view, Jesus is hung upon the cross, crucified between two thieves. So was Jesus telling the truth from the standpoint of the world? No. Why? He not only died,
God would not have allowed his son to be.
God would never have allowed this. And he wasn't given a nice pill. He was given the most ignominious, degrading death on the cross between two thieves. So to the world, Jesus lied. Pure and simple, he lied. Struck down by God and afflicted. What does one of the thieves say to him? If you are the Son of God, Save us and yourself. See? Come down off the cross. What does Satan say to Jesus in the desert? Bow down and worship. The temptations are to get Jesus to prove he's the Son of God. On the cross, there it's resurrected again. Come down and save us. You've come full circle. You're back to the cross. You see? The devil doesn't give up. The devil doesn't give up. He's still rejoicing. He's got a hangover from Eden, because he did a pretty good job there. And now he wants to deliver the knockout blow. Get Jesus. He fails there. But throughout the public ministry, Satan is always there doing something. But now on the cross, where Jesus is the most vulnerable, the most exposed, the most revealed, he is. But not to the human eye. He is revealed. The truth is, Jesus is the Son of God, and the proof is what? In his death and resurrection, and his dying that death. Let's read. Struck down by God and afflicted. But, see that wonderful word, but, he was pierced for our sins, crushed for our iniquity. He bore the punishment that makes us whole. By his wounds, we were healed. That's called vicarious suffering. Innocent suffering. To suffer in the place of another. To take the place of another. As many of the martyrs did. Like Maximilian Kolbe, among others. The great Protestant theologian, Lutheran, Dietrich Bonhoeffer. You should read everything you can that Bonhoeffer writes. Excellent. We had all gone astray like sheep. Oh, Lord, look at that again. There we are, back to the sheep. Yep. See, all these people who want to be priests and everything, the most important thing is, do you smell like sheep? Because if not, we don't want you. All right. We've gone astray like sheep. All what? Our own way. But the Lord laid upon him the guilt of us all. You see here clearly the theme of the sacrificial lamb coming through, please. Though harshly treated, he what? And keep going. Did not open his mouth. Pilate. You don't speak to me? He opened not his mouth. This is direct reference back to 53. He is fulfilling this prophecy that we read on Good Friday. Like a what? Like a lamb. I mean, it can't be any more obvious than that. Like a lamb. And at 3 o'clock, when Jesus is crucified, they are slaughtering the lambs in the temple. A lamb led to slaughter. Sheep silent before the shearers. He did not open his mouth. Seized and condemned, he was taken away. Who would have thought any more of his destiny? For he was cut off from the land of the living, struck for the sins of his people. He was given a grave among the wicked, a burial place with evildoers. Though he had done no wrong, nor was deceit found in his mouth. But it was the Lord's will to crush him with pain, making his life a reparation offering. He shall see his offsprings lengthen his days, and the Lord's will shall be accomplished through him. Because of his anguish, he shall see the light. Because of his knowledge, he shall be content. My servant, the just one, shall justify the many. Their iniquity he shall bear. Therefore I will give him his portion among the many, and he shall divide the spoils with the mighty, because he surrendered himself to death and counted among the transgressors, bore sins of many, and interceded for their transgressions. That is the fulfillment of what Jesus' encounter with Pilate is, and his whole life and ministry, why he came. Again, we have to keep going back to these Old Testament Hebrew things and make the connections with the New Testament. These are not just stand-apart things that have no ligaments with them. They do. They stretch the millennia. You see, and we see that now in retrospect. Here he is, and I'm going to end with this. You're tired, and anyway. It says there, that he brings him out, and he says to them, look, I'm bringing him out to you so that you may know that I find no guilt in him. Well, that's absurd. That's absurd on its face. Look what I just had done to him. That's because I didn't find him guilty. Could you imagine if he found him guilty? I mean, think about this. But you see what happens when this whole thing begins to get out of control. There is no reason, there is no justice, there is no mercy, forget that. There's none of that. It all comes driven by fear. Fear of the loss of power, fear of the loss of control, fear of living the safe, little, wonderful world that we have built. So Jesus came out wearing the crown of thorns. Do you see that? The crown of thorns? Who wears a crown? But it's not the king of gold. It's the king of suffering. Jesus is the suffering servant. But it's not useless suffering. It's suffering for our sins, our guilt. It's vicarious suffering. It's the fulfillment of Isaiah. And what does John the Baptist say about Jesus in John's gospel when he calls the disciples? John has his disciples, Jesus passes, and what does John say? Go ahead. Keep going. There it is. This is back to that. Here it is now, fulfilled. See? This now, 3 years before, this was said by John. Here it is now fulfilled. Purple cloak. What is purple? Who wears a purple cloak? Royalty. That's right. That's right. This is supreme irony. Jesus' stripes heals them. Jesus is the Lamb who takes upon himself the sins of the world, and in so doing renders us innocent. He is crowned with thorns. He is a king. But he's a king who suffers so that we may be washed clean. He is a king wrapped in royal purple. He is not simply the king of the Jews. He is the king who rules because he rules with the power of love. It is suffering, enduring love. You want the God of Moses, when Moses said, "What's your name? What's your name?" There's the answer. Go all the way back to Sinai. What do I call you? Here he is. Are you kidding? Are you crazy? This is the king? St. Paul, 1 Corinthians, chapter 1. To the Jews, this is a stumbling block. To the Gentiles, the Greeks, it is foolishness, nonsense. But to us, it is the very power of God and the wisdom of God, those who believe. 1 Corinthians chapter 1. I'm going to get right, I'm ending. And I'll end on this. And he said to them, Ecce homo, behold the man. Now, since we did so well with the last little thing I asked you to do, I want to ask you, if you would, to look up Ecce homo, E-C-C-E-H-O-M-O, behold the man. E like in Edward, C like in contentment, E-C-C-E, next word, homo, H-O-M-O, behold the man, Ecce homo. Now, what I would like to ask you to do is to jump from the pages of the text here, which you hate, to the 19th century and the philosopher Wilhelm Friedrich Nietzsche, 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 Friedrich Nietzsche, and tell me what is the connection between Ecce homo and this 19th century philosopher. And do you see anything startling and shocking and strange about this some, let's say for the sake of discussion, 19 or 2,000 years later? 1,800, 1,900 years later, whatever you want. Is there anything strange about that? Look up Nietzsche. Do you see any connection with Ecce homo? If so, what is it? And how does Jesus fit into all this? Why does this 19th century philosopher engage the way he does? Let's put it that way. So if you would do that, that would be great the next time, if you don't mind, please. Does everybody have that wants it? It's simple. Just look him up and punch in that, and you'll get more than you want to know. And you probably don't have to stick with the text. All right. Thank you for your patience. Let's end, please. And I'd ask you, please, tonight, in your prayers, please remember the people in Florida. Please. They're dealing with that terrible storm, and we were fortunate. We saw what happened last time, a couple of weeks ago, as a matter of fact, 2 weeks ago, whatever it was. When the thing just kind of fizzled out or did whatever, thank God, whatever it did.